Have you ever, like, really stopped and thought about pyramids?
Right.
I mean, not just the ones in Egypt, the classic Giza pyramids,
Right.
but pyramids are everywhere, and they're not all the same. You've got them in Mexico, of course, but also places you wouldn't expect, like Bosnia.
Hmm.
And then there are whispers of them in China and India and even South America, and get this, maybe even Australia.
Wow.
And the thing is, they're not all those pointy desert pyramids we always picture. Some are these huge step structures, and others are kind of rounded. It's wild.
It is. It's like this global phenomenon that spans cultures and continents and millennia.
Totally. And it
Yeah.
makes you wonder, like, how on earth did ancient people all over the world manage to build these things? I mean, talk about ambitious projects.
Yeah. I mean, the scale is just mind-boggling. And it's not just the size. It's the
Mhm.
precision, the engineering, the sheer manpower it would have taken.
Exactly. And for a lot of us, I think that's where the questions start creeping in. Like, could they really have done it all on their own? Just with ropes and ramps and whatever else they had back then.
I think that's a very natural question to ask. When you're faced with something so seemingly impossible, you start looking for explanations that make sense.
And that's what we're diving into today.
Right.
One of the most persistent and, let's be honest, kind of fun theories out there.
Hmm.
The idea that maybe, just maybe, aliens had something to do with it.
Aliens and pyramids, it's a classic pairing.
It is. And before we get too far, let's be clear. We're not here to say definitively that aliens built the pyramids or that they didn't. What we're doing is exploring this theory, this line of thinking, and seeing where it takes us.
Exactly. It's about examining the evidence, the claims, the logic, and the whole conspiracy theory that's built up around it.
Because here's the thing, right? When you start really digging into the history of these pyramids, especially the older ones, you often find that the records are kind of sketchy. Like, we don't have detailed blueprints or construction logs.
True. We have archaeology and we can piece together some of the story, but there's a lot we just don't know for sure.
Exactly. And that lack of concrete information, that mystery surrounding the builders and their methods, well, it kind of leaves the door open for these alternative theories, doesn't it?
It does. I mean, think about it. We can't even definitively date a lot of these structures with carbon dating because it only works on organic material, not stone.
So we're left with gaps in our knowledge. And those gaps are like fertile ground for speculation.
Absolutely. And that's where the idea of alien involvement comes in. It fills those gaps with something intriguing, something that captures the imagination.
Okay, so let's talk about that. What's the basic idea behind the theory that aliens built the pyramids?
Yeah.
What are the core arguments?
Well, at its heart, the theory proposes that extraterrestrial beings with technology far beyond anything ancient humans possessed were either directly responsible for building the pyramids or they heavily influenced their construction.
So, like, they either came down and did it themselves, or they gave the ancient humans some serious tech support.
Exactly. And the evidence they point to, well, it usually revolves around two main things. The sheer scale and complexity of the pyramids, which seem impossible for primitive humans to have achieved.
Like, think about the Great Pyramid of Giza. Millions of stone blocks, some weighing over 70 tons, quarried and transported hundreds of miles, then lifted in place with incredible accuracy. It's mind-blowing.
It is, and the proponents of this theory say there's just no way humans could have done that with the technology we believe they had at the time.
Right, it's like trying to build a skyscraper with just hand tools and a lot of hope. Doesn't quite add up.
Exactly. And then there's the second piece of the puzzle, the idea of ancient astronauts. Basically the belief that aliens have visited Earth in the past and that they were sometimes seen as gods by ancient cultures.
And this isn't just some random made-up idea, right? There are ancient texts and legends that some people interpret as evidence of this kind of interaction.
There are. For example, in Mayan and Egyptian mythology, you have stories of gods who provided instructions for building pyramids or even physically helped with the construction.
Like Thothis, the Egyptian god, who was considered the architect of the universe, or Imhotep, who supposedly got his knowledge from divine sources.
Exactly. Now, these stories are obviously part of their respective cultures and religions, but within the ancient astronaut theory, they take on a whole new meaning.
Like, maybe those gods weren't actually gods, but advanced aliens who came to Earth and shared their knowledge with humans.
That's the interpretation you often hear. So you've got the impossible engineering feats on one hand, and these tantalizing hints of alien intervention in ancient myths on the other.
And those two things combined, well, it starts to create a pretty compelling narrative for some people, doesn't it?
It does, especially when you consider some of the more specific claims of evidence that proponents of this theory put forward.
Right. It's not just about the size and scale of the pyramids. It's about these strange artifacts and techniques that seem to defy what we know about ancient technology.
Exactly. For example, there are these perfectly drilled holes in granite and other hard stones that would have been incredibly difficult to create with the tools we believe the ancient Egyptians had.
And then there are those super tight joints between the stones. Like supposedly you can't even fit a razor blade between them in some cases.
Right. The precision is remarkable, and some people argue that it would have required advanced machining techniques that were way ahead of their time.
And let's not forget about those mysterious crystal skulls and bowls.
Yeah.
Some of them are so intricately carved that even with modern tools, it would be a challenge to replicate them.
Those are definitely intriguing. And then there's the presence of metal clamps in some of the structures, which again suggests a level of metallurgical knowledge that we don't typically associate with ancient cultures.
It's like you're saying, there are all these little clues that don't quite fit the conventional narrative. And that makes people wonder if maybe there's more to the story.
Exactly. It's like a puzzle with some missing pieces.
Yeah.
And those missing pieces are what fuel the imagination.
And speaking of puzzles, let's talk about the stars, because this is where things get really interesting with the whole alien pyramid theory.
Oh, yeah. The whole astronomical connection is a huge part of it.
Right. It's the idea that the pyramids weren't just randomly placed. They were intentionally aligned with specific stars and constellations.
And the most famous example of this is the Giza-Orion correlation theory.
Right, the one where the three main pyramids at Giza are supposedly aligned with the three stars in Orion's belt.
Exactly. And the theory goes even further than that. It suggests that this alignment wasn't just a coincidence. It was a deliberate design choice to mirror the sky as it appeared thousands of years ago.
Like some people claim that the pyramids were built to align with Orion's belt as it appeared around 10,500 BCE, which is way before the generally accepted date for the construction of the pyramids.
Right, and that raises some serious questions. If they were built to align with the stars as they appeared in 10,500 BCE, then who built them and how do they have such advanced astronomical knowledge?
It's a mind-boggling idea. And it's not just the Giza pyramids either. Other pyramid sites around the world have also been linked to specific celestial alignments.
Like Teotihuacan in Mexico, which is said to align with the setting sun on certain days, or the Chinese pyramids, which some researchers claim correspond to the constellations of Gemini and Orion.
And even the Borobudur Temple in Indonesia has been mentioned in this context, with some suggesting it's a kind of temple mound to the stars.
It makes you wonder, doesn't it? Were all these ancient cultures just incredibly skilled astronomers? Or was there something more going on, some deeper connection to the cosmos that we're only just beginning to understand?
And that brings us to the big question. Why, if aliens were involved in building the pyramids, what was their motivation? What purpose do these structures serve?
Right, because if they weren't just tombs or monuments, as mainstream archaeology suggests, then what were they?
Exactly. And this is where the theories get really wild. Some people believe that the pyramids were actually energy devices or beacons for extraterrestrial spacecraft.
Like, imagine the pyramids acting as giant antennas or power generators harnessing some kind of cosmic energy.
It's a pretty far out idea, but it's out there. And then there's the theory that the pyramids were built as geodetic markers, points of reference on a global grid system that aliens used for navigation or some other unknown purpose.
Like they were laying down a cosmic welcome mat.
Right? And then you have researchers like Joe Parr who claim that the pyramid shape itself has unique energetic properties.
Like his research suggested that pyramids can generate energy fields that block electromagnetic radiation and maybe even open up portals to other dimensions.
Which again ties back to that whole astronomical alignment thing. It's like everything is connected.
And let's not forget about the concept of lost knowledge. The idea that ancient civilizations might have possessed advanced technology, perhaps given to them by aliens that has since been forgotten or suppressed.
Like maybe the ancients knew things about energy and consciousness and the universe that we've lost touch with.
And that leads to the whole conspiracy theory element, the belief that governments and powerful institutions are aware of this lost knowledge and are actively trying to hide it from the public.
Like the whole thing about the Chinese pyramids being covered up with trees to make them look like natural hills.
Right. Or the idea that the truth about alien involvement would shatter our understanding of history, and so it's being kept under wraps.
It's a classic conspiracy theory trope. The government hiding the truth to protect the status quo.
And it plays into people's mistrust of authority and their desire for answers that go beyond the official narrative.
But of course, we have to acknowledge the other side of the coin, right?
Yeah.
The mainstream archaeological view that says the pyramids were built by humans using the tools and knowledge they had at the time.
Exactly. They point to the evidence of quarries, worker campsites, cemeteries, all the things that suggest a massive organized human effort.
Like the limestone quarry near the Great Pyramid, or the evidence of how the workers were housed and fed. It paints a picture of a society that was capable of incredible feats of engineering and logistics.
And they argue that while we might not understand every detail of how they did it, the evidence points to human ingenuity, not alien intervention.
Like maybe we underestimate the capabilities of ancient cultures because we tend to view them through our own modern lens.
Right. We assume that because they didn't have computers and power tools, they couldn't possibly have achieved such incredible things.
But maybe they had different ways of knowing and doing things that we've simply forgotten.
And maybe the sheer scale of their achievements speaks to something profound about human potential and our capacity for cooperation.
It's a powerful thought.
Yeah.
So where does that leave us? Well, I think it leaves us with a fascinating mystery and a lot of unanswered questions.
Definitely. On one hand, you have the undeniable impressiveness of the pyramids and the gaps in our understanding of how they were built.
And those gaps fuel the imagination and give rise to alternative theories like the idea of alien involvement.
But on the other hand, you have the evidence of human ingenuity, the archaeological findings that suggest a massive human effort.
So maybe it was all humans. Maybe they were just way more advanced than we give them credit for.
Or maybe there's some truth to both sides of the story. Maybe it was a combination of human ingenuity and some kind of external influence.
We might never know for sure, but that's the beauty of it, isn't it? The mystery keeps us wondering, keeps us exploring, keeps us pushing the boundaries of what we think is possible.
It does. And it forces us to ask some fundamental questions about ourselves, about our history, and about our place in the universe.
Like, if humans were capable of building the pyramids all on their own, what else were they capable of? What knowledge and skills have we lost over time?
And if aliens were involved, what does that say about our connection to the cosmos? Are we not alone? Are there other intelligent beings out there who have visited Earth in the past?
It's a lot to ponder. So as we wrap up this deep dive, I want to leave you with a final thought, something to chew on as you go about your day.
I like it. Let's hear it.
Here it is. If the pyramids were built entirely by humans with no outside help, then what does that tell us about the true potential of our species? What drove them to undertake such massive projects? What sacrifices did they make? And what can we learn from their achievements?
That's a great question. And I think the flip side of that is equally important. If there was some form of external influence, some kind of alien involvement, then what does that mean for our understanding of history and our place in the universe? Does it change how we see ourselves? Does it open up new possibilities for the future?
So much to think about. So many possibilities, so little time. But hey, that's what makes life interesting, isn't it? The pursuit of knowledge, the exploration of the unknown, the endless quest for answers.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
And on that note, we'll leave you to ponder those questions and draw your own conclusions. Until next time, keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep looking up at the stars.
And who knows, maybe one day we'll finally have those answers.